So I heard this story about a woman named Penny who died and had a near-death experience. And honestly, there are a lot of those stories out there, but this one is different. This is exactly what researchers like Raymond Moody, who coined the term near-death experience, have documented in thousands of cases. Because at some point during her experience, she found herself standing in front of God and she was yelling at him. She straight up called him out and told him she thought he had failed her and her kids. And I'm sitting here listening to this, thinking there is absolutely no way someone is actually doing that. But she did. And what blows my mind is that God didn't shut her down. Her anger, her frustration, her refusal to stay quiet, it forced God to reveal the mystery of life that every human being has ever wanted to know. And now, she gets to share it with the world. Here's what happened to her. Penny is a critical care nurse, so she knows what dying looks like up close. She's been in the room for it more times than she can count. And when she herself went into clinical death on a hospital table and came back, what she brought with her wasn't just this vague sense of peace or light. She came back with specific information, and the most important thing she came back with happened because she stood in front of God and told him she was furious with him. And instead of the conversation ending there, he showed her something that changed her understanding of everything. Penny went into anaphylactic shock at home. Her son drove her to the hospital, and long story short, the ER dropped the ball badly enough that she ended up crashing in a hallway. She had no IV, and a team told her husband they had about 30 seconds before she stopped breathing. She came out of her body and floated above the table, watching them intubate her. This is what researchers call an out-of-body experience. She says her first thought was that the woman lying there looked really sick. She didn't even recognize herself. Next thing she knows is everything went dark. When she came back to any kind of awareness, she was sitting in the back seat of her sister's car. Her sister was driving through a pouring rainstorm from Wisconsin to Kentucky and had pulled over at a gas station. Penny noticed her clothes didn't match, like she'd grabbed whatever was closest when she got the call. She watched her sister pull out her phone and type on Facebook, "Hang in there, kiddo, I'm coming." Penny was then instantly brought to somewhere else entirely. She describes it as a dark, heavy void. It felt like it went on forever. She says time in that place was nothing like time here. She says she was there for what felt like 10 long years. At some point in all of that, she started asking herself whether she was the reason she was stuck. And she realized that after her divorce, she had basically closed herself off from everything and everyone. She just worked and went home, did nothing else for years. And that the walls she had built around herself on Earth had followed her to the afterlife, which became the place she was trapped in. The moment she understood that, the darkness just exploded open. Out of the darkness came this spirit with bright orange hair that was literally on fire. Penny says she felt immediately drawn to her. She went to that spirit and the spirit hugged her. That's when she realized it was her grandmother. This is what many people who have near-death experiences call a spirit guide. Once she was held by her grandma was when she just broke down in tears. She had been alone in that void for what felt like 10 long, lonely years. Then suddenly, someone was there who loved her, and she felt it. She says the love on that side is more than physical. It moves right through your entire soul. Her grandmother explained to her that she wasn't dead. She said energy can't be created or destroyed. It just changes forms, and that's true on that side too. You don't die, you just transition. And right now, there's still a cord connecting you to your body, and you can go back if you want to. Penny stayed with her grandmother for a while, just resting in that feeling. And then at some point, she realized her grandmother was no longer there with her. And then it happened. Everything shook, like a giant long earthquake, but 10 times more intense. She says every planet, every bit of space she could sense started rumbling with this presence before she could see anything at all. And then this presence said these words to her, "I am." That was it. And she says there was this resonance to it. She describes it as being in the key of D that just went through every part of her. And she had absolutely no doubt about what she was standing in front of what many describe as a being of light. What happened next is what's called a life review, and she was dreading it. She was waiting for every mistake and everything she was ashamed of to come up, and none of it did. What came up was a grocery store she had completely forgotten about. A woman in front of her in line was short a few dollars and was trying trying to figure out what to put back, and Penny just gave her the money and never thought about it again. But God showed her what that woman did later. She ended up volunteering at a food pantry and feeding hundreds of people. And he said, "I want you to see the ripple effect of every small act of kindness." Then God started showing her children growing up, and that's when Penny unloaded on him. Everything she had been carrying for years came pouring out all at once. She was yelling at God, actually yelling. And she said, "I watched my kids go to that mailbox every single day, waiting for a gift their dad promised that was never coming. They came back to the house, heartbroken every single time, thinking something was wrong with them because of what he did. My kids," she yelled at him. "My kids went through that, and the anger just kept coming." She said, "You tell me you're this loving God who wants the best for your children, and I call bull. I watched my children suffer in ways that didn't have to happen, and I want to know how you allowed that. God said, you've completely misunderstood me. Let me show you something." She was suddenly in bleachers, watching her grandson playing soccer, and her son David was sitting next to her, and David looked at her and said, "Mom, I'm going to be the dad to him that I deserved." And she got it immediately. Everything her kids went through had built something in her son that he never would have had otherwise, and God had seen that the whole time. Now here's the part that gets me. This wasn't just a comforting vision God was showing her to make her feel better in the moment. This was a prediction, because Penny says that a couple of years after she came back, her son Cole started playing soccer, and she was sitting in those exact bleachers, and David turned to her and said those exact words. Word for word. The same thing God had shown her on the other side actually happened in real life, right down to the soccer field, and when it did, she knew immediately, this is what he promised me. He wasn't just showing me something beautiful to calm me down, he was showing me the future. And that's actually connected to something else Penny learned while she was over there that I think is the hardest thing to wrap your head around. She says, before we come to this life, we actually choose it, what some call our soul contract. There's a whole process on the other side where we sit with spirit guides and decide what family we want to come into, what lessons we want to learn, what our soul needs. And she says, we know the whole story before we arrive. Every trauma, every loss, every painful thing that's going to happen to us, we knew. We just forget it the moment we get here. So, when she was standing at that mailbox, watching her kids walk back heartbroken every day, the version of those kids that existed before they came here had already said yes to that experience because of what it was going to build in them. And Penny says, the souls that come into the hardest lives, the ones born into the most painful circumstances, those aren't the weakest spirits. Those are the most courageous ones. The ones who looked at the hardest path and said, I'll take that one. And then something shifted. A healing light came in through her feet and slowly moved up through her whole body, through every single cell, and when it reached the very deepest part of her, she found God already there. God had been there the whole time. And he said to her, you can choose not to acknowledge me. You can go your whole life saying your father isn't your father, but we can prove that he is. I made you, and I am in you. And I can't be taken out of you any more than your father's DNA can be taken out of you. I've been in there the whole time. That's what her anger opened up. She pushed hard enough that he showed her the thing that changed everything, that God isn't somewhere outside of you waiting to be found. He's already in there, has been the whole time. She chose to go back and cried doing it because she didn't want to leave. When she woke up, her sister was standing there in that hospital room, and the first thing Penny said was, why were you wearing that outfit? And I saw what you typed on Facebook. Her sister went pale. She'd grabbed whatever clothes were on the end of the bed when she got the call, driven through a pouring rainstorm, pulled over at a gas station, and typed exactly those words. There was no way Penny could have known any of that. This is what NDE researchers call veridical perception, verifiable information the person couldn't have known through normal means. I've thought about this story a lot since I first heard it, and the thing I keep coming back to is that the biggest revelation in the whole experience didn't come from a peaceful moment in the light. It came from a grieving mother who refused to stay quiet, and what she got in return was the answer to a question most people spend their whole lives asking. Penny's experience contains almost every element documented in near-death research: the void experience, the encounter with deceased relatives, the life review, the being of light, and the choice to return. And that is the mystery of life that Penny came back to share with the world. God is already inside you, built into every human being, the same way DNA is built into every cell of your body. Every small act of kindness sends out ripples you will never see from where you're standing. What looks like suffering from here looks completely different from where God is standing. We chose our lives and our hardships before we were born, and the souls who took on the hardest paths are the most courageous ones of all. And your thoughts carry real energy that attaches to other people, which means how you think about someone actually affects who they become. That is what Penny brought back. That is the mystery of life.